The Cursed Mine of Black Hollow. Chapter 1. The Return to Black Hollow. The road to Black Hollow was forgotten by time. No one had driven down it in decades. The asphalt had cracked open like old scars. Grass grew through the fractures, reclaiming the man-made path. The trees leaned inward, closing around me like roots. I felt the weight of silence pressing on the windshield. The air was cold enough to sting. Every breath fogged against the glass. My headlights struggled to cut through the mist. Each mile deeper into the valley felt heavier. It was like the world didn't want me to return, but I had to. Something was calling me back. The same something that had taken everything from me 20 years ago. The town appeared suddenly, a ghost caught in the beam of my headlights. Wooden houses rotted on their foundations. Porches sagged under invisible weight. Every window was hollow, staring. The sign that once welcomed miners and families now hung by a single nail. Welcome to Black Hollow, EST 1879. The letters were barely visible under the rust. I slowed the truck and killed the engine. Silence devoured everything, even the ticking of the cooling motor. It sounded wrong here. I stepped out. Gravel crunched under my boots. The air smelled of wet dirt and iron. The fog wrapped around me like something alive. I had left this place as a boy. When a mine collapsed, half the town went with it. They said it was an accident, gas pockets, a spark, bad luck. But my father used to whisper otherwise. He said the mine was cursed long before we were born. He said something old slept beneath the rock, and that the miners had disturbed it. When he died down there, no body was ever found. Just his helmet, dented, covered in dust, with his name still scratched inside, Collins. I had kept it for years, hidden in a box I swore I'd never open again. Until last week, when a letter arrived. No sender, no explanation. Just 4 words scrawled in trembling ink. It's still down there. I carried the letter in my coat pocket as I walked through the ruins of Main Street. Shattered windows glinted like teeth in them. Full, the general store leaned sideways, its door hanging open like a broken jaw. Inside, empty shelves stretched into the dark. Everything smelled of mold and rain. A calendar still hung behind me. Counter, March 2005, the same month my father vanished. I touched it, and the paper crumbled beneath my fingers. Time had eaten everything here, everything except the mine, the path to the shaft, wound through dead trees and broken fences. I followed it by memory. Every step echoed louder than it should. The earth was soft underfoot, sinking slightly, as if something moved beneath the surface. When I reached the mouth of the mine, I stopped. The wooden archway was still there, blackened and splintered. Warning signs lay half buried in the dirt. Danger stop. Keep out. Someone had carved new markings into the wood. Circles, slashes, and an eye. Fresh paint. It hadn't been there 20 years ago. I stood at the edge of the darkness and felt it breathe. Not wind, not air shifting through tunnels. It was slower, deeper, like lungs buried in the earth. My flashlight flickered. I hesitated only a moment before stepping in. The light swept across rusted rails, shattered helmets, and wooden beams slick with moisture. Water dripped from somewhere unseen, echoing like a clock counting down. The tunnel swallowed me whole. After a few steps, the daylight vanished completely. The deeper I went, the more wrong everything felt. The air grew heavy, humid, metallic. Each breath tasted like stone. Old posters peeled from the walls, slogans from another. Life, safety first, dig deep, earn more. Now, they just looked like warnings. I found the first side tunnel collapsed in on itself. The second was open, leading deeper. A faint draft came from below, carrying a smell that wasn't rot, wasn't gas. It was older, like rusted blood and burned oil. I turned on my father's helmet lamp. The beam quivered, weak but steady. The strap fit perfectly, like it had been waiting for me. I whispered, "Dad," and my voice disappeared into the black. Then, faintly, something whispered back. Not words. The sound like breath sliding through. The stone. I froze. Every instinct screamed to turn back. But the letter in my pocket felt heavy, burning against my chest. I kept going. The wall seemed to move as I passed. Not physically moved, enough that my eyes couldn't trust what they saw. Patterns etched into the rock glimmered when my light hit them. They weren't cracks. They were carvings. Old, intricate delivery. Symbols repeating over and over. The same circle 3 lines. And that eye, always watching. I touched one. The stone was warm. Too warm. Far below, I heard a metallic click, like a hammer striking a ridge. Then another. Then silence. Someone or something was still working. My father's voice echoed in memory. If you ever hear it working, I didn't run. I needed to see. I descended another level, ducking under broken beams and piles of rock. The air trembled with low vibrations. Every few seconds, I could swear I heard a heartbeat. Then the lamp on my helmet flickered again. Static whispered through the small speaker attached to the side. A voice crackled through the interference. Low, distant, broken. Collins. I froze. That voice. It couldn't be. It sounded like my father. Who's there? I shouted. The echo returned my words, twisted, elongated. Then the voice came again. Don't dig deeper. The speaker hissed, then went silent. My hand shook as I pulled off the helmet. The light died instantly. Darkness wrapped around me. Thick, suffocating. I reached into my bag for my flashlight. It wouldn't turn on. Nothing worked. And yet, faintly, the tunnel ahead began to glow. A pale, pulsing light like veins under skin. It led deeper. I followed, because I could not. Because something in me needed to. No, the glow came from cracks in stone. Golden veins that shimmered faintly. They looked like ore, but they pulsed as if alive. I touched one. The rock felt like flesh. And under it, something moved. I stumbled back, heart racing. The light grew brighter. From behind me, the whisper returned, louder now. Welcome back. I turned. No one there. Just empty darkness stretching. Forever. I ran. I don't know how long. My footsteps echoed like gunshots in the still air. When I finally saw the mouth of the tunnel again, it was gone. Only rock. Solid, smooth, untouched. The mine had sealed itself. I screamed, pounded the wall, tore my hands open. No sound came out. The world around me was silent again. When I woke, I was outside. The sky was gray. The sun barely rising. My truck sat where I left it. The mine entrance was gone, completely buried, as if it had never existed. The ground was smooth, undisturbed, but my boots were covered in mud, and in my hand, clenched so tightly my nails drew blood, was a letter. Only now, 5 new words were written beneath the first message. You open it again. Leave. I stared at the page until the ink bled in the rain. I turned to look back one last time. The forest behind me swayed gently, and between the trees, I thought I saw movement. A figure wearing a miner's helmet. Light still flickering faintly in the fog. Watching. Waiting. I blinked, and it was gone. I started the truck and drove until the valley disappeared behind me. But even now, miles away, I can still hear the faint echo. The steady beat of metal on stone. The sound of something working, digging, waiting for me to come back. Chapter 2, The Descent. I didn't sleep after that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the echo of metal striking stone. The sound followed me into my dreams and out of them. Days turned to weeks, but the memory didn't fade. It clung to me like the scent of damp earth. I tried to convince myself that it had all been imagination. A trick of the dark, a mind starved for. Closure. But the human mind doesn't invent handwriting. And I still had that letter. The words burned every time I read them. You opened it again. Leave. I should have listened. But obsession is louder than reason. And grief doesn't let go easily. When the mining company announced an official expedition to reopen the Black Hollow site, I volunteered. I told them I was there for documentation. They didn't ask why I knew the area so well. 5 of us went in. Myself, 2 engineers, a geologist, and a foreman named Harris. All strangers to me, all eager for discovery. None of them knew what really slept under that valley. I didn't tell them. I just wanted to see it again. The place that had stolen my father. The day we arrived, the air was unnaturally still. Birds avoided the trees around the site. Even the insects were silent. The new equipment hummed as the team prepared the entrance. They cleared brush, set up lights, and drilled the mountain. Had buried the mine. Hours later, the metal door of the tunnel appeared again. Exactly where it had been. Exactly as I remembered. I felt the ground shift beneath my boots, as if the earth exhaled. "Look stable enough?" Harris said. He had the confidence of someone who'd never been down there before. He smiled when I didn't answer. "You're quiet, Collins. You afraid of ghosts?" I looked at the dark hole in front of us. "Something like that," I said. Then the floodlights came on, painting the tunnel walls in pale yellow. The stones seemed to shimmer faintly, almost breathing. No one else noticed. We descended one by one. The air grew cold, moist, and heavy. Every sound magnified. Footsteps, breathing, the creak of harnesses. The deeper we went, the quieter it became. Harris kept making jokes to ease the tension. No one laughed. After 50 meters, we reached the first chamber. Rusty carts lay overturned, half buried in mud. Old beams leaned at impossible angles. The walls pulsed faintly in our lights. The geologist brushed his hand. "It's warm," he said softly. I looked at him. "So was the stone last time." I whispered. He frowned. "What do you mean last time?" I didn't answer. We pressed on. The air turned metallic, thick, and vibrating. Our flashlights flickered without reason. At one point, we heard something like a heartbeat. Slow, steady, deep within the stone. We tried to convince ourselves it was the echo of machinery. But no machine was running, and the rhythm didn't stop. It did. The geologist began marking strange symbols etched into the walls. "They look pre-industrial," he murmured, "like something carved long before this mine was built." The symbols were identical to the ones I had seen before: circles, slashes, and eyes. The same eye from my father's home. I felt my throat tighten. "Don't touch them," I said. He hesitated, then nodded slowly. At the second chamber, we found something none of us could explain. A pit, perfectly circular, descending deeper than the lights could reach. Metal cables dangled into it, snapped long ago. The air coming from below was warm, moist, almost breathing. When Harris dropped a small rock inside, we never heard it hit bottom. The sound simply vanished. He whistled. "Guess we found help." No one smiled. The foreman wanted to map the chamber before continuing. The rest of us waited in silence. That was when the radio cracked. A voice whispered through the static. "Collins." Every muscle in my body froze. The others looked at me. "Who's calling you?" Harris asked. I took the radio and pressed transmit. "This is Collins." "Identify." No response. Only breathing. Long. Slow, human. Then the voice again. "Leave it alone." The sound cut off. Static died. The lights flickered, then went out. For a few seconds, everything was black. Someone screamed. I think it was the geologist. When the lights came back, he was gone. His equipment lay on the ground, still warm. We called his name. No answer. Only the sound of dripping water, steady as clock. We searched every corner of the chamber. No footprints, no drag marks, no blood. It was as if he had been erased. Panic set in fast. The engineer, Miller, started shouting. "We need to leave. Now." Harris tried to calm him, but his hand shook. "Maybe you went back up the shaft," Harris said weakly. "He didn't," I muttered. Harris glared at me. "You know something you're not telling us?" I stared into the darkness of the pit. "Yes," I said quietly. "It's a weight." Before he could respond, the walls groaned. A deep vibration rolled through the ground. The sound was everywhere. Inside our bones, inside our lungs. Dust rained from the ceiling. Beams cracked. The earth itself seemed to move. Miller dropped his pack and bolted toward the entrance. Harris yelled after him, but it was useless. The tunnel behind us had already begun to collapse. We were trapped. The floor buckled beneath my feet. I felt on my knees, the flashlight flying from my hand. It rolled toward the pit. The beam caught something on the opposite wall. Movement. A figure. Human-shaped, but not human. Its limbs too long, its skin pale and wet like stone. Its eyes reflected light like a cat's. But they didn't blink. They just stared. The sound that came next wasn't a growl or a scream. It was a word, meaning. The wall behind it split open, revealing more of the glowing things. They pulsed faster, brighter. The chamber shook violently. Harris grabbed my arm. What the hell is that thing? I looked at him. It's what they woke up. We ran through collapsing tunnels, over broken rails, through the thick, suffocating dark. Behind us, the sound of stone grinding against stone filled the air. The tunnels shifted like they were alive. Every path bent away from the surface. It was leading us deeper. We stumbled into another passage, narrow, spiraling downward. The walls here were smooth, almost polished. Symbols glowed faintly on stone. Not carved, but alive. We followed them because there was nowhere else to go. At the bottom of the spiral, we found a massive chamber. In its center stood a structure, half metal, half bone. A cage. Inside it, a figure sat motionless. It wore a miner's helmet. The light still flickered weakly on his head. I stepped closer and froze. It was my father, Harris whispered, Jesus Christ. I reached for him. His skin was gray, cracked, dust falling from it like ash. But his eyes opened. They glowed faint gold. Why did you come back? He asked. His voice was two voices, one human, one not. I had to know, I said. He smiled sadly. You woke it again. I shook my head, trembling. What is it? He looked toward the ceiling. The earth remembers. It hungers. The ground shuddered. Cracks spread outward from the cage. The glowing veins beneath the stone brightened until they burned. My father's body began to crumble. Go, he whispered. Seal it. Harris grabbed my arm. Let's move. We ran up the spiraling tunnel as the light chased us, molten gold flooding through the cracks. The air roared like fire. When we reached the upper shaft, we saw daylight far ahead. Harris pushed me forward. Go. Don't look back. I climbed. The sound behind us grew deafening. 1,000 hammers striking stone at once. The tunnel collapsed. Harris screamed, and then there was silence. When I crawled out, the sun had risen. The entrance caved in behind me, sealing everything below forever. The valley was still. No birds, no sound, only the wind whispering through the trees. I felt my knees covered in dust, gasping. The letter was gone. In my pocket was something else, my father's helmet. The light still flickered faintly. I looked down the ridge one last time. The earth was smooth again, unbroken. No sign of the mine, but when I pressed my ear to the ground, I could hear it. Faint, distant, the sound of digging, the sound of something that would never stop, something alive. I left Black Hollow that day. I never told the company what really happened. They sealed the area, called it a structural failure. No one went back, but sometimes, at night, when the wind is still, I can hear it again, the metallic rhythm of shovels and stone. It echoes through my walls, through my dreams. It calls my name, and sometimes when I look in the mirror, I see dust on my skin that won't wash off. Gold dust. I know I escaped the mine, but a part of me never left. A part of me still digs, still listens, still waits. And beneath the earth, though, Black Hollow, something waits with me.